in outside of Vernon, Texas, between Vernon and Seymour. It was 550,000 acres under one fence. And it was founded by W.T. Wagner in 1903. It's one of the most famous ranches in the whole world. And one time they were drilling a water well and hit oil, and it made W.T. just mad and the devil. Didn't know how he was going to water his cows. But they made it through, and one time they were the richest family in America. But they sold that ranch, but for years and years and years, a group of us have gone out to an old rock lodge that E. Paul Wagner built back in the 20s. Entertained his guests. A lot of wild stories about that old lodge. About as long as from here to that door. Had a great big walk-in fireplace at each end. All of it rock. And it was a wonderful place to go hang out with the guy. And we could hunt anything. There was deer and hogs and quail and geese and ducks. Anything that moved we could hunt. One night, it was a Saturday night, and the cowboys had come out to partake of our free whiskey and our sandwiches. And we were playing penny ante poker. And I got to listen to the boys, and they were talking about the brand this and the brand that. And I thought, that's really neat that they recognize that. Because when I was a youngster, we were taught two things at a very early age. One of them is to be the kind of man to ride the river with, because that old quicksand was really tough. And if you didn't have somebody with you, you could depend on, who was trustworthy, you were in a lot of trouble if you were running cattle in the river bottom. You learned to watch where the tracks went in. If they didn't come out the other side, you don't go in there. You don't come back at night the way you went in the morning, because that quicksand had moved. So the greatest compliment you can pay a cowboy to this day is, there goes a man you can ride the river with. The other one was ride for the brand. If a man signs your paycheck, you owe him that allegiance. And you protect his property as if it was your own. You're loyal to him. And if you don't like your job, you either ask him for a raise or you go someplace else. You don't sit around and bitch. So riding for the brand was implanted in my brain a long, long time ago. And all of a sudden, Jimmy Patterson, the wagon boss, said, you know, boys, he'd had a little whiskey, but I got to tell you what he said. He said, you know, boys, those are our cattle. We're the ones that calve them. We're the ones that doctor them. We're the ones that make them, keep them alive. The family gets the money. But those are our cattle. And I thought, what a great, great thought. And I looked over by the fireplace, and there was a man sitting in a chair over there. Couldn't hear it thunder. He'd been living in that cabin there in that old lodge by himself for 41 years. And I thought, if anybody ever rode for the brand, Paul Whitley rode for the brand. So I walked out on the front of that lodge. There was a rail out there along the edge of that bluff. And I wrote this poem for Paul Whitley. His skin looked like leather. He walked with a limp and talked with a slow Texas drawl. His knuckles were knotted and his right thumb was gone. Said a stud bit it off late last fall, but hell, we knew he was lying. We'd watched him dally it up. But it ain't healthy to call him a liar. It was Saturday night before the wagon went out, and he was setting our new kid on fire. And we'd all heard his stories about places he's been, and we think that Jake's kind of strange. He looked over at me and said, I'm schooling this boy about the unwritten laws of the range. And the kid was enthralled, kind of like in a trance. Jake sensed that he had a good grip, so he straightened up, hitched his pants, took a drink of cold beer, turned around with his hand on his hips, and he said, son, a man's brand is his own special mark. It says, this is mine. Leave it alone. If you hire out to a man, ride for his brand and protect it like it was your own. Mr. Wagner come out here in 1903. This country was sagebrush, mesquite trees, and sand, and he carved him this ranch out of blood, sweat, and guts. Be proud that you ride for his brand. If you hired out to string barbed wire, build him a fence. It don't matter if it's 4 or 5 strand. Just remember, it was you who asked for the job. Don't bitch when you ride for this brand, because Mr. Wagner don't hold with complainers. He'll fire one before he can quit. If you don't like our outfit, head down the trail and find a horse that your saddle will fit. But if you get up early, catch you on bronc. Show the boss that you're making a hand. Mr. Wagner will be there to cover your bets as long as you ride for his brand. He said the winter I spent at the Sixes, we had a man at the old tater place who rode up on some hiders a skinning a cow and squared off at them scamps face to face. Now he could have rode off and never looked back, but he wasn't that kind of man. We found him in Ash Creek, shot all to hell. No Kona Joe died for the brand. Well, we know the old man tells a windy or two, like the one about losing his thumb. No Kona was killed in a bar in Fort Worth with the demons in a bottle of rum. But I got to thinking about what he had said, and the more of it I understand, the more I believe we'd be all better off if more people would ride for the brand.